Welcome, 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 everyone. Today is a fine Sunday afternoon. As you can see right there, it is still blank. Brian is still part of our family. Don't fear. He will be back. He's just very, very busy with his job right now, his day job, mind you, and he's not able to join us. So he will be back in a couple more weeks, I believe. Next week, I want to remind you guys that we are having our, let me just move this over to this shot. Next week, we are having our 4-year anniversary, and we're kicking our 4-year anniversary off in style. And I'll tell you what we're going to be doing. We are starting with the mystery box. We are going to be doing 2 giveaways every month of a mystery box that will contain some great goodies from some great people, including us. And we are going to be giving 2 of those away each and every month till the end of the year. So there'll be 2 giveaways in October, 2 in November, and 2 in December. So you want to make sure that you are either part of our membership, because all of our members get added in directly. So they are automatically entered to all of our contests. And we'll be putting up the rules this week for how to get involved in that contest and win yourself some great stuff from some great companies. Now, one of the things I want to thank our good friend Tim over at KKP. He also runs DeWitt 3D. He went and made us a bunch of these nice stickers, which we're going to be throwing in with your t-shirt. If you got a t-shirt recently and you didn't get any of these, I will mail some out to you. If you are ordering a t-shirt now, like if you ordered one this weekend, there will definitely be one of these in there. And they're a high quality sticker. They're gloss. They can go on your printer. They can go on your filing cabinet. They can go on your door. And it's just fun to support the show. So who do we have here in our membership today? Let me say hi to everybody. We have Accord XTC. We've got Gary T. Of course, my wife, Geraldine Ham. She's over there taking care of our chat today. We've got, what's that? She's drinking wine and eating crackers, she says. HVAC A to Z, non-fam, Peter Reynolds, Slim Gig, The Printing Crab, and The Apprentice 2021. Welcome you all. Let me go back here and see the chat. Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, please hit that like button down below. It goes a long way to helping our metrics here on YouTube. By all means, leave a comment at the end of the show as well. Now, hey, there's Andrew. I want to just let you guys know that we didn't have an episode this week because we're prepping for our anniversary episode, which is officially October 4th, but we're going to be celebrating it next weekend with our live stream on Sunday, Ask for Help, and then, of course, our episode. Going to have a little look back. Maybe I'll get a chance to have Brian on, and we can talk a little bit about the year 2021, or our third year doing this, and we're running right into our fourth year. Can you believe it? It's been 4 years since we've been doing this. Wow. World Planet Gadget, hello, sir. So yeah, it's very cool. Hey, if you want to get a t-shirt, all you have to do is PM me or drop me an email to richard@thefirstlayer.com. Right now, shopthefirstlayer.com is under reconstruction. So if you've been going there looking to get one of these, unfortunately, the site is not up and running yet. It will be back up and running, hopefully, by the beginning of October. Fingers crossed. And we're going to, we'll have all of our new merch on there. It'll all be rebranded with our new logo. And I really, really am looking forward to that. What else? Hey, there's Andrew Osmond. My wife wants to know, Andrew, if you're related to Donnie and Marie. We're that old. We know who they are. He's a little bit rock and roll and she's a little bit country. So get your questions ready. I'm here to answer your questions today. And I want to let you guys know that a lot of great things coming. He says yes. There's a lot of great things coming to end off 2021 because, you know, we're right now in this huge pandemic. Now we're in the fourth wave with the Delta variant, and I got to tell you guys that I am not happy about it. You know, things are just getting back to normal. We just had an election here in Canada, as you know. For those of you that are in Canada, the U.S. side, you guys probably know too that we had an election here. And show us the back of your shirt. This one doesn't have anything on the back, but I will get one that does have one. All right. Okay, so this is the front of the shirt. You can see it's a little different from mine because mine's yellow and purple. This one's actually purple and yellow. This is the way they're meant to be, okay? And then on the back, this is what we have to show your support for the first layer. Okay, there's the back, there's the front. We are making these in-house, just so you guys know. This is actually going in the mail tomorrow to one of our supporters. Hey, there's Rex Waldy. Actually, I've got Rex's shirt over there. So Rex is getting his sent out tomorrow as well. So, Rex, you're going to be getting one of these stickers as well inside with your t-shirt. And you know what? I got a bunch of these old ones too. Do you guys want me to throw these ones in? Just say yes if you're buying a t-shirt. I will go and throw one of our old logos in there as well, because I got a lot of those stickers still left over. So, backless shirt. Sexy, Gary T says. Gary. Rex says he wants one of the old stickers as well. Okay. So I'll throw in old stickers too and new stickers, and we'll just get you all stickered up. How's that sound? We'll get everybody stickered up. Let's see. So nobody's got anything to say. You just like the shirts? Okay, cool. Okay, just so you guys know that, what? What are you talking about? Oh, the coasters. Yes. Give me one more sec. This is turning into a merch show. So my wife went and made up a set of coasters. I didn't get any stickers in my order, The Apprentice 2021 says. That was before we got them, but I will get you some. So my wife went and made some coasters. How do you guys like that? Isn't that cool? And they've got cork on the back, so they're not going to damage your surface. And she did a really nice job on them. I'm really happy with them. So we've got coasters as well. Those will be up on the website very soon, as soon as we relaunch that website. The Apprentice, I'm going to assume that's Tom, I believe. Yeah, I think that's Tom. Tom, if you're The Apprentice, just say, yes, that's me. Is it vinyl on the coasters? Yes, it is, actually. It is vinyl on the coasters. We have our own vinyl cutting machine, so we're doing all of our own vinyl. Tom, I am going to send you out. Good, great. Yeah, so we're doing all of our own vinyl. They get sprayed with a sealer, so these don't come off. I really like them. I like the new logo, and what do you guys think of the new logo? Do you like it better than the old logo? There's the old logo. There's the new logo. You guys tell me which one you like better. The old or the new? Okay, Accord XTC's got his first question. Let's pull that up. We got a question. All right, he says, I have a question. Recently, I printed some round legs for a table and noticed that the whole print was smooth except like a raised line from top to bottom on the print. What would cause that? Thanks. Accord, that's probably where the head is stopping and then going back around. So that's going to be what we call the seam line. Now, on a round object, seam lines are really hard to hide. That is unfortunate, but there are some ways that we can go ahead and reduce that. You can actually do it random, so you get little areas all over and it's not nearly as noticeable. Or you can just sand that seam line down, which would work as well. So that's one way of doing it. World Planet Gadget, he's asking, can you send the t-shirt also to Europe, or is that too much money to send? We can certainly send it to Europe. I would have to double check on the shipping rate, but yes, we can definitely do that for sure. We can send them all over the world, wherever we want. How do you use macros in Clipper? I've read the documentation, but don't understand it. That is a question for Brian, actually, but he's not here. As far as setting up macros, there's a couple of really good videos out there. Go into videos from Nero 3D. He has some great videos on Clipper. And Nero 3D was the guy that I followed to build my Voron, as you guys know. And I still haven't put the big sticker on the back of my Voron yet, which I still have to do. But yeah, I would check out Nero 3D's videos on Clipper, and he can certainly answer that for you. All right, okay. Nice. Okay, I hardly could see it with having white filament. Thanks for the info. You're very welcome. You are very, very welcome. Any advice regarding Bowden dual gear extruder? Bowden dual gear extruder. So you are looking at two separate extruders into one head, or are you putting into two separate heads? Oh, dual gear extruders. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Now that I reread that, I understand. Dennis, what's my advice on dual gear extruders? Make sure that the secondary gear is not overly tight, because if it is overly tight, you are going to wear out that gear and it may get stuck. Now, the other thing that I would recommend is putting in a little bit of lithium grease within the needle bearing area. It's going to be in that free spinning gear. That's going to help you tremendously, and it's going to give you a nice clean flow through that Bowden tube. I hope that answered your question. I hope that's what you were looking for. Any more questions? New logo is better to me, Dana says. Cura has a setting for Z-seam position under the shell. Yes, Anne is correct about that. There is a Z-seam in Cura that you can play around with. Now, I've been understanding that a lot of people have been having issues with getting the newest version of Cura to run properly. Now, if you are not running Windows 10, here is sort of the thing. If you haven't upgraded the drivers in your PC for a while, I have found in my own personal testing that it will cause issues with Cura 4.11. Now, that being said, if you're completely up to date and you're still having issues with it crashing, check to make sure that you've got enough space on your hard drive. Because if you don't have enough space, why is my assistant coming on? I don't understand why. But if you are, where was I going with this? Totally forgot. Squirrel. Yeah, if you're having issues with Cura 4.11, make sure that everything is up to date. Make sure that you've got enough space on your hard drive for caching. If you have more than one drive, offload some of that to your secondary drive or third drive and do the caching there. And we're going to get into how that all comes about. That's a pretty detailed video. So I will be doing a video on how to get 4.11 up and running on your PC or Mac, even though I don't own a Mac. All right. One head. Dennis is saying he's got a single head. So make sure that that secondary gear that you see in there, is this on a Creality printer? Is that what you're trying to do, Dennis? Are you doing that on a Creality printer? Because if you are doing that on a Creality printer, make sure that you've got a little bit of lithium grease on those needle bearings. Even on a Bondtech, you still need to have a little bit of lithium grease on those needle bearings. Now, the reason I say that is because recently, my good friend Peter Reynolds, and a member of our community, had that same issue where that secondary gear was stalling out, and of course, just grinding on the filament, getting under extrusion, and all kinds of problems. Once we took that gear off, and we put a little bit of lithium grease on the needle bearings that are inside of it, it's been running great. So that's something definitely to watch out for. Had problems with 4.11 on the laptop, but okay on the PC. This is from Roscoe. On the laptop, again, make sure that all your drivers are up to date and make sure that you've got enough room on that drive so it can do those calculations. Because what happens in Windows is it will take information. It'll take information and it'll cache it onto the drive temporarily, which again takes up room on your drive. If it's not caching properly, or you don't have enough RAM, or you're using a much older laptop. I know we've got a laptop upstairs. I've tried putting 4.11 on it. Does not work worth a darn. And it's an older laptop. So you've got to have some pretty new, well, not necessarily pretty new, but anything within the last 10 to 12 years should work just fine. All right. What's our next one, G? Okay, World Planet. What could be the problem if I print and the heights on is higher than 10 centimeters, my extruder starts to clog sometimes. When you get to that 10 centimeter range, it starts to clog and you're getting under extrusion. That can be a couple of things. One, it can be that you don't have enough heat going through it. Secondarily, it can be something wrong with the file. Here's the problem. Not all files, and I've said this many times, not all files are created equally. Sometimes Cura doesn't pick up on holes in the mesh, even though it should. It has gotten a lot better than it did, or that it was in the past. But what I would say to you is if it's clogging at a certain area all the time at that area, take apart your hot end, make sure that you're flowing, your flow is good and you've got no blockages in there. Clean it out really well. You can do what's called an atomic pull by taking out your old filament, heating up the hot end, taking a piece of nylon or a nylon filament, or even ABS or PETG can work as well in a pinch. And what you're going to do is start to let that temperature lower, drop that in there, and then quickly pull it out. I don't usually do atomic pulls, but I do like to push all of the old material through. Now, if your hot end has a liner in it, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, if your liner has one of these little tubes in it, or a Bowden tube, just like that, you can run into issues. Now, running into those types of issues can be a problem, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like when it starts to clog up. I have one right here in front of me. We can see that there is material in this tube, okay? And you can see that there's some there. So this was causing all of my issues with my hot end. And it was under extruding, it was not doing well at all, and it was happening randomly. So what my suggestion to you is double check your hot end, make sure everything's tight, make sure you've got clean flow going through it. Check all of your axes as well, because what can happen is if you're on a Cartesian and you've got your Z-axis or your X-axis going across like this, we'll use this wrench as an example, and it is off, it can bind up, and that can cause problems, okay? So I would say run some filament through it, make sure that everything is okay, and then double check that everything is tight and everything is level, and then see if you don't have any problems at the extruder the extruder end where it's coming in, because you may be having some blockage there. It may not be in the hot end, but it may be back at the extruder itself. One of the gears may not be spinning. Okay. All right, next one. Have I? Ricky B says, Dennis Kelly, I just put in dual gears on my Ender 3 Pro. Be sure to check the E-steps. That's the other thing you have to check. That's true. Check your E-steps. Make sure that, you've got the proper amount of material flowing through it. Rex says he's got it on Windows 11, Cura 4.11. It's running with no problems. Dennis wants to know, recommended BMG Bondtech. Yes, I love the BMG Bondtech. I think that's one of the best extruders out there on the market. It does a really, really good job. And there's RT, our good friend. Awesome. Hey, there's David Sell as well. We got quite a few people. Dana, I can't find good resources for settings on firmware on the SKR E3 Turbo. I have Ender 3, filament sensor, inductive sensor. I have Visual Studio Code, Notepad++. Everything I see uses different options and doesn't explain why they use them. It's frustrating. If they explained why, I could figure it out. Good resources for setting up the firmware. Now, if you're using the SKR, E3 Turbo. I didn't even know they made an E3 Turbo. See how long I've been away from SKR. But there are areas in there that you're going to have to change. You need, and I don't have it set up here today, but you are going to need to have to change the type of sensor that you're using. BL Touch is different from an inductive or capacitive sensor. So I would do a little bit more research on that. If you want, Dana, send me an email to questions at the first layer. Let me just bring up that screen. So send me an email to questions at the first layer detailing exactly what you need, and I can go through it and send you a response back. How's that sound? That would work out great. All right. Larry, hello. What temp is good for PLA? Because I'm getting a lot of bridging and hair showing up on my printing. Thank you. Larry, I'm going to tell you that's not the issue. What the issue is probably moisture in your filament. Now, depending on wherever you live in North America or in overseas, you may be in a climate that has more moisture or in the air than we have here. We're in a very dry climate here in Alberta, so I don't have a lot of moisture issues. But when you're getting that stringing, we call it stringing. When we're getting that, it's due to a couple of things. One, moisture in your filament. Two, it's retraction. You might want to increase your retraction a little bit. That could certainly help you. And that's where I would check first. If you're using an old roll of filament that's been laying around, it may have absorbed moisture from the air. And I've talked about this many times. Moisture from the air is different than pouring water or soaking your filament in water. One is a gas, one is a liquid or solid, or is considered a solid. So what you want to do is when you're not using your filament, put them in a vacuum sealed bag or into a freezer bag, a large freezer bag, zip them up, have some desiccant in there just to keep them dry. If you have a dryer at home, there's a new one out by Sunlu. There is the Ebos, which I'm a big fan of. There's several other ones that are out on the market, or you could just use a dehydrator. That works as well. All right, who's next, Dee? She's not paying attention. She's eating crackers and drinking wine. Okay, advantages of switching to linear rails for the Ender 3 V2. I honestly don't think there's any advantage to that, to be perfectly honest with you. RT, I believe that's RT's question. I don't think that there are any advantages to moving to linear rails on something that small. Now, if you were doing something much larger, like a CR-10, I could see there being an argument for linear rails. You could get smoother action across your X and your Z and your Y. But remember that you've got to make sure that everything is square. If it's not square, it's going to bind up. So that's why we have the systems that we have on those much smaller machines. I wouldn't put linear rails on an Ender 3. I don't see an advantage to it. Brian's done it to one of his, and he says there's really no difference in the quality of print that he was getting. Next, Jerry. He says if he's got prints that are smaller, this is from World Planet Gadget, but if my prints are smaller than 10 centimeters, height, I have no problem. Is it all the files that you have? That sounds like you've got a much bigger problem. And we can actually get into a phone conversation or an online conversation where I can actually see what's going on. So that we can suss that out for you. But I think if it's doing it at the same spot every time, check your extruder. Definitely check your extruder. Next. Gary. That's it. Hammer of Doom, he says he uses a filament cleaner loaded with a sponge in it, and I put a little corn oil in it to lube the Bowden tube. Here's Hammer of Doom. If it's working for you, great. Here's the problem with that, though. That oil or lubricant that you're using is going down into the hot end. The hot end's not meant for that. You can cause more problems down the road than it's worth. Those little oilers, they were very popular a few years ago, and some people still use them. I don't think they do anything for you. I think that at the end of the day, you really need to make sure that everything is lined up properly. You need to make sure that you're getting good flow, that your flow rate is set correctly, or your E-steps are set correctly for your hot end, and make sure that everything is level, tight, and tuned. There's a much better way to do this. Michael over at Teaching Tech, who I've had conversations with, I think he's of the same mind I am. Those oilers really are just introducing something else into the mix that you don't need. So World Planet Gadgets did yes, all of them. Okay, so what I would say to you then is that there is something wrong with the machine. And I would go ahead and have a really good look at everything and make sure that everything is tight, straight, level, and that you're getting good material. Because if it's happening at the same spot every time, send me some pictures. That would actually help me out a lot as well. Oh, I just got rid of that one from... Bring that one back up, G. Ricky B says he put linear rails on his Ender 3 Pro. I wish I had saved the money and time. All I got out of it was a bunch of wasted time recalibrating my printer, and my prints don't look any different. And that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, they don't look any different. Brian has had the same issue where he spent a lot of time and money on something that he really didn't need. I would say to put your money elsewhere, upgrading your hot end, maybe getting a better extruder, that sort of thing. Or if you're moving to 32-bit from an 8-bit board, that's money better spent than going ahead and adding linear rails. That's not going to do you a whole lot of good. All right, what's the next one, G? The PLA I use is made from corn anyway, Hammer of Doom is saying. Yes, it is. Well, technically, yes, it's made from corn starch. It's not made from corn oil. Two different things. Two very, very different things. Corn starch is a sugar at the end of the day. Oil is not. And all PLAs are made with corn or cane. Rails are for speed, Hammer of Doom says. I don't think it really makes much difference in the speed as well. I really don't, because I can get the same quality of print out of what my printer is doing just on the rails and wheels setup. You're not going to get much more than 60 to 70 out of an Ender. And you know what? Out of an Ender, there's no point in going that high. I print on my Ender at around 40, 45, which is just fine. I don't mind waiting a little bit of time to get the right print out of my printer. And to spend all the time and the money buying linear rails, because they're not cheap, and then printing the parts that you need, and then retuning your machine, not really worth it to me. That's just my opinion. Halfway through the show, I want to remind you guys, if you are new, hit that subscribe button if you're getting something out of today. Hammer of Doom. Yes, they look nice. If you are new, please hit that subscribe button. We do a brand new show usually every Saturday, and we have a live stream every Sunday, just like this one at noon Mountain Standard Time. I joined your Patreon, Andrew Osmond. Andrew, great. We don't do a lot on Patreon anymore. I would prefer that if you wanted to be a member, you do a member here right on YouTube. We don't do a ton of work on Patreon anymore. Hopefully you joined us here in the join button down below the video. But thank you. Yeah, Andrew Osmond, my Cura 411 works great on my PC and not on my laptop. I've seen that before. I've seen that before a lot, and I have the same problem. My laptop doesn't run 4.11 very well at all. It takes friggin' forever for it to load and to slice the model. I can walk away, have a cup of coffee, and come back, depending on the model. But my PC, now, part of that problem is the processing power in my laptop. I'm only running a Celeron. It's only got 2 cores. I've got 4 gigs of RAM in there, so it's not very powerful at all. So yeah, I would make sure that you've got something within the last 10 years if you're going to use a laptop. And I would say minimum an AMD 4-core or an Intel 4-core processor will work very well. But it's weird that my prints still come out nice. I think I go for the Voron printer. The Voron printer, I love my Voron. It works very well. I can get up to natively, I can print at 120 millimeters per second. No questions asked. My print time has come down. We're going to do a video on how that actually prints very, very soon because I have to put in my serial request. So I can get my serial number and I can start decaling up my printer. But yeah, I think the Voron is a really good printer. Okay, what do we got next here? Hammer of Doom, he says, anything less than a quad-core i5 with 8 gigs is bad with Cura. I would agree with you on that. A multi-core system, something that's at least got 4 cores. I've seen it run on an i3, and it runs fairly slow on an i3. But yeah, if you don't really need 16 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs is just fine. Caesar, the nozzle hits... Oh, here. Cesar Romero. Hey, I used to know a Cesar Romero. Didn't he play the Joker? Yes. Yeah, Cesar Romero was the Joker on the TV's Batman with Adam West. He says, my prints will not stick. Use hairspray glue. Try leveling the bed. Got a CR6 Max. Okay, here's your issue if it's not sticking to the bed. First of all, don't use hairspray. I don't care what anybody says about hairspray. I don't care how good they think it is. I've tried all the adhesives that have been recommended, from glass to glue to hairspray to the commercial options that are available, goof or whatever they call that, goop. I've tried that. I've tried everything. And everything but glue has not worked worth a darn. Now, that being said, glue stick, which is this stuff right here, is what I use. Plain and simple, on glass, this is what I use, or on mirror. If I have a textured bed, of course I don't use this stuff because that's only going to ruin my textured bed. But if you are having problems getting your print to stick, there's a good chance that you're not close enough to the bed. So your offset may be too much space. So it may be just dragging that filament around. Check your offset on the CR6 and try and recalibrate that offset. I think that'll work out for you. All right. Go ahead. What's the next one? Oh, okay. The nozzle hits and the print and sometimes scratches the bed. Then you're too close to the bed. If it's hitting, it's too close to the bed. If it's not sticking, it's too far away. If you're too close to the bed, what can happen is when you're going around and you're putting that first layer down, as you come back on the layer that's been previous, or the line that has been previously laid down, the heat from the nozzle is grabbing that and it's pushing it up. So it's trying to lay it down, but you've got too much squish. Again, that has to do with your offset. So double check your offset, make sure that you're doing it right. Use a piece of paper. Any piece of paper will do. But what you want to do is make sure you've got your hot end and your bed heated up to the heat that you typically print at. So if you're printing PLA, 200, 205, 210, depending on the one that you're using. And your bed should be somewhere around 50 or 60. Let it come to temperature. Let it sit there for a good few minutes to acclimate. Then go ahead and do your paper test. And you just want to get a very, very light pull on that paper. I use a Post-it note. I think they're perfect for that. They're cheap. Everybody's got Post-it notes in their house somewhere. And that will definitely help you setting your offset. All right, what's next? Okay, BLV upgrade and dual Z motors and screws. The things that made a difference: the dual Z motors and screws, the 32-bit board, and a BL Touch. Everything else was unnecessary. Ricky B. I agree with you on that. 100% I agree with you on that. There's nothing I can add to that. Oh, bring that one back. For Cura, if you are crashing, turn off the settings that restores the window position when Cura loads. Good to know. From Ben Brady. Peter Reynolds, Cura 4.11 won't work on either my PC or my laptop. Just updated all my drivers, so now I'm back to 4.8. 4.8 works great. There are some things, Peter, when I see you tomorrow, we'll have a look at that. Because I think that that is going to be a huge difference for you. All right, what's next, G? Anything else? No? She's having two conversations over there. I know that she is. What I do when I clean my hot end is to use a Q-tip. It's not easy, but does a great job. Andrew, do not use Q-tips on your hot end. Please do not use Q-tips on your hot end. You are going to cause more issues. I have a Q-tip right here in front of me. Let me see if I can grab it. Okay, so when you use a Q-tip, these little fibers that are on there can get stuck on your hot end. Okay? Don't use this. There's a brass brush, which I typically use, and I normally have one around here on my desk somewhere. But use a brass brush. Of course, this is the day that I can't find one. That's because I cleaned up my desk. That's right. My wife is reminding me I cleaned up my desk. Although, if you looked at my desk right now, it doesn't look very clean. But I would get myself a little brass brush and use that instead of using one of these, because this is going to leave behind material. All that little bits of cotton are going to come off. They're going to stick to your hot end. Do not use this on your hot end, please. Please, 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 please. Dollar store glue stick is good. Yes, it is good. I love dollar store glue stick because if you can find this Elmer's at dollar store, pick it up. Definitely pick it up. I know I had a brass brush here just the other day. Warped bed, hammer of doom. That might be something as well. Your bed might be warped as well. If your bed is warped, there are a couple of things that you can do as a user of that. And one of the things is that you can take aluminum foil and put it under the areas that seem to have the worst dips, and that will bring up the glass a little bit, and aluminum foil is fine. Duct tape, not the fabric one, but the metal ducting tape, aluminum tape, that will work out as well. You can also use Kapton tape, which I've used for in the past. Andrew Osmond, welcome to the first layer. I do appreciate it. I did. Oh, yeah, I just got the notice now. What else can I see here? Can old plastic cook in the hot end and also make a clog? Rick Landon. Yes, absolutely it can. It definitely can do that. And what happens is, and I'll show it again here, on this Bowden tube, you can see that there's gunk in it. Maybe not very well because my fat head's in the way. There we go. You can see that there's gunk in there. And that material can come down and sit in the hot end. And where it's typically going to sit is it's going to sit down in this area of the nozzle. And if you overheat this, let's say you're doing ABS, okay? Long periods of doing ABS. Maybe you've got a 12, 14, 16 hour print. These Teflon tubes, especially the inexpensive ones that you get off of Amazon, AliExpress, or any of those guys, these Teflon tubes do tend to break down after a while. Now, they're rated to 240, 245 degrees, but over time, and I've noticed this doing this now for almost 6 years, that these will cause you issues in the end because they will flake off. They're microscopic flakes because you don't have a very big hole at the end of your nozzle. You've only got a 0.4 millimeter hole or 400 micron hole. Now, that being said, that can cause issues. Those little flakes will never come out of that nozzle because at the end of the day, they're just going to sit in there and build up. Okay? So when that happens, and here's a good example of that. This one you can't see through at all. And I would have to take this and heat it up and get all that material out of there. But that being said, yeah, if you've got one of these, that's why I go to an all-metal hot end. And we had a little bit of a discussion about this a week ago. This can be considered an all-metal hot end. But that tube right there, that's your issue. If you were to get a proper hot end that, here's another one. Look at that. That's got a Teflon liner in it. You're going to find that these are going to be your problem. That Teflon liner is going to break down. If you go to an all-metal hot end, it does not have one of these in it, and I have one right here. A throat. This throat, which is an E3D heat break, they call them a heat break, has no Teflon liner in it. You can see that. Now let's get my fat head out of the way. You see there's no Teflon liner in there. Okay? There's not a Teflon liner at all in there. Now, the Teflon that goes in there, and we'll just use this little piece right here, only goes this far. That's it. So if I were to pull that out, that's all that's going into my hot end. Okay? That, with a heat break like this, an all-metal heat break, this has been machined on the inside so that the material will flow through properly. Okay? If you've got too much retraction and this gets too cool, then you're going to end up jamming up this hot end or this throat. But that little bit of Teflon that goes in there is not going to be a problem. This will never clog This will clog, however, if you don't have the proper amount of retraction, okay? But these conduct heat much better than one that has one of these down the throat. Okay, what do we got going on here, G? Heat up the hot end, then turn off the machine, then use the brush so I don't short anything out. Peter, that is exactly right. If you are going to use a brass brush on your hot end, heat it up to temperature, let it sit there for a couple of minutes, then take that, then turn it off, take that brush, and just give it a little bit of a cleaning. I clean my hot ends using a brass brush also. Heat it to 240, 250, unplug it, and immediately brush it. Unplug it so as to not short it out. Exactly right. If necessary, plug in, heat again, and repeat. I agree with that 100%, Tim. That is the best way to do it. Yeah, my bed is really warped, Cesar Romero says. Cesar, I'm going to say to you that if you have a really warped bed, what brand of printer are you using again, first and foremost? Secondly, I would say to find out where those areas are warped. It may not even be the bed. It actually may be the carriage underneath. And I've got one over here. Let me just go grab it. Okay, so this is a Y carriage. This one's made from wood. This is how the Wilson used to be done, which was a really good printer in it for its time. What can happen is these can be bent. If they're bent, if this has got any bend in it at all in the metal, what you're going to find is that you're never going to get a level bed. So always check that carriage. I found that to be a problem on one from Mingda. The carriage itself, all of the corners are bent. Oh, look at that. I just broke it. All of the corners are bent in different ways. So one's down, one's up, and some are twisted because the person who had it turned it so tight that it squished and compressed that metal up. Okay? Well, that was easy to break. Good thing we don't use wooden beds anymore. Creality CR6, it came warped. Okay, the CR6, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Go over to Teaching Tech's GitHub calibration page. You can go find it on, just type in Teaching Tech calibration tool, and it'll come up. It'll take you right there. What you want to do is you want to lay down a square of material in each corner and the center, and it's going to tell you exactly how off you are. And if you can't get it level, then what I would say to you is that you're going to need to put something underneath that glass, if you're using glass, and just bring it up in the corners that are too low to try and get a much better level out of it. All right, G, what's next? I started using Matter 3D filament, printed a temp tower, and it looked best at 220. But when I printed at 220, the nozzle clogged and the filament is dull. Does Matter 3D require higher temps to print? Matter 3D does require higher temps to print, and 220, you're pushing the limit on that. I found in my own testing with their stuff that I print their stuff right around 210, 215. And I don't have any problems. You might have a retraction issue because if it's coming back too far up into that throat that we just talked about, if it's coming back too far up into that throat, it might be cooling too fast. Or your Teflon tube may be grabbing it and causing it to stick to the sides like this one. So there's a couple of ways that you can resolve that. First and foremost, you can resolve it by upgrading your hot end to an all-metal hot end, or two, just checking on your retraction. That's going to be the cheaper one to do. I love Matter 3D filament. I use it all the time. I have no issues with it. They're ABS, they're PLA. I have no issues whatsoever. However, because it has more virgin material in it, it is going to need to be printed hotter, and it's going to need less retraction, okay? And it's going to absorb moisture from the air. I don't know where exactly in the world you are, Ricky, but if you're in a humid climate, you want to make sure that you are bagging that material after you've used it, okay? Hitching tech calibration. Teaching, T-E-C-H-I-N-G, teaching tech calibration tool. That is the right one, yes. All right, teaching tech, yes, Ben says. Peter Reynolds, thank you very much, sir. Yes, we got a super chat. Hit that like button. High Desert of Lancaster, Florida. That's where Ricky's at. He's in Lancaster, Florida. Is it humid there?
Dry.
It's dry there? Then you should not, well, you might be humid because you are very close to water there as well. Excuse me. If it's a dry heat, then you shouldn't have any problem. But if you've got humidity in the air and you've got a high humidity factor, you definitely want to make sure that you are bagging your material with desiccant. California. Certain parts of California, as far as I know, are pretty humid. Yes, but it's pretty humid still, honey. So, my wife is trying to give me a geography lesson. I know exactly where California is. So yeah, I would definitely double check that and make sure that you're drying. Humidity is 20%. So that's actually not bad. If your humidity is 20%, then what I would say to you is that you definitely want to double check your retraction then. That's what I would do. Richard, someone needs to teach Richard to read or some geography. No, nobody needs to teach me how to read, Ben. I'm kind of insulted by that. But anyway, yeah, we are rounding up to the last 6 minutes of our show today. I want to thank everybody first and foremost for all of your questions. I hope I was able to answer most of them. We got a brand new episode coming this week. Friday, our members get it Friday, and the general public gets all of the episodes on Saturday. That's one of the benefits of being a member. Secondary benefit is you get added into all of the different draws and stuff that we do. And we've got a members live stream coming up in October. Actually, we have 2 members live streams coming up in October. So if you are a member, I will be posting when those live streams will be happening, and we'll get down, we'll chat, and we'll talk about some stuff face to face, which I really like doing our live streams because we have quite a few people that come in and go. And don't forget the what? Contest, yes. The contest, which is starting in October, we are going to be doing 2 mystery box giveaways, which are going to contain some great goodies from some different people. You're going to get some stickers. I can't tell you about filament. I can't say that. That being said, there's going to be some great stuff in that box. You're really going to like it, and we're going to ship those wherever we have to ship them. So, U.S., Canada, overseas, it doesn't matter. We're going to ship those wherever we need to ship them, and I hope you guys will stick around with us. You'll let people know about our channel, and like and subscribe if you're new here. Give us a like today if you got something out of today. The like button really goes to helping our metrics in the end. 3D Printing Canada, or DeWitt 3D Canada, is the guy who actually made these stickers for me. Did a wonderful job. They look amazing. Here's the original ones that I did, which are much smaller. And I like these better than these. Accord XTC, thanks Richard and Jerry for another great show and answering my question. Have a great week, everyone. Richard, you can ship to Lancaster, California, LOL. Yes, I can ship to Lancaster, California. Absolutely, I can ship anywhere. And we have a distributor now set up for, or a shipping company set up for shipping to the U.S. So we can get much better rates than we were getting before shipping to the U.S. DeWitt, Canada, yes. Matt Gurman. Dennis Kelly, what causes brown string and blobs after printing an hour? Brown stringing and blobs? That's the last question I'm going to answer for today. That problem comes up because what happens is your material is sticking to the block and the nozzle, and then it's falling off. A lot of times that's what it is. And you might be a little bit too close to your print. The secondary thing is your heat might be too high. You're overcooking the material. It's getting hot in here. It sure is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us on a Saturday. And we're going to see you again on next week, right here, as we celebrate our 4-year anniversary on YouTube. And I hope you guys will come along for the ride. We're going to take a look back. And hopefully Brian can be here next week for our anniversary. I really hope that he is. And we may have Jess on. And we may have Jerry on as well. We'll get her microphone all fixed up. And yeah, she doesn't like being seen. So I do have a couple of clients that are phoning me here shortly. So I am going to say goodbye for today. And remember that the first layer is always your foundation. Do a great print. We'll see you guys next week.